Apple's new budget-friendly $599 iPhone 16e is here, but it's not without compromise. However, there's a lot to break down here, so let's talk about it. So after using this for a little bit, it's very clear that there's some charm here that really works. Apple has distilled the iPhone 16 experience into a new device with less features that costs less, and I think some people can appreciate this. As for the design, it's a little bit understated. It's very simple though. We have an aluminum build, there's Apple's action button on the side which you can customize. There's also a single camera on the back, and around the front we have a 6.1 inch display. The display I mentioned here is where we peel back some of the layers and start to see a little bit of the compromise here. You see, this is a 6.1 inch OLED display and it looks absolutely great, but it is limited to 60 Hz. Now, that's not out of character for Apple to do at these lower price points. Even the iPhone 16 has a 60 Hz display, but it's still not excusable, and I'm not a big fan of that. All that said, even with the older notch style, I think the display looks absolutely fine, and I think the target demographic for this phone isn't going to mind one bit. Inside though, you'll find more that powers this iPhone 16 experience, like a variation of Apple's A18 chip. We have 8 GB of RAM and a 4005 mAh battery, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And with that power inside, you're definitely going to be front of the line to keep the phone smooth and running up to date for years to come, which is an important thing. And along with all of that, you do get iOS 18 and the power of Apple Intelligence, which brings you some cool AI features if that's something that you're into. But at the end of the day, I don't think that people who are buying this phone are worried about things like AI features or a titanium frame or even hardware features like camera control that they might not ever use. I think that instead of giving you an iPhone 16 experience here, you're more getting iPhone 16 essentials, which is totally fine. So let's talk about some of those essentials. Around the backside, we have a single 48 megapixel camera. It's dual purpose in that you can take 1x and 2x photos without any optical quality loss, and I think the camera performs great overall. Regardless of the lighting, the camera performs like the ones in the iPhone 16 classes above it. The photos look great, and I really have no complaints about the photos this camera can take because that's a non-issue. It's more about what you can't capture with it, what you might miss out on, like ultra-wide shots, macro photography, or further optical zooming. But all in all, for what we have here, the one single 48 megapixel camera, it's definitely really great. I don't think you're gonna be disappointed there. And we have the front-facing camera here. It's 12 megapixels. I'm shooting 4K video on it right now, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty good, but let me know what you think. Now back to power for a minute. The performance here is nothing to scoff at either. I mean, the A18 variation here, 8 GB of RAM, this thing is going to handle any kind of gaming, multitasking you can throw at it. You're gonna be good for years to come with that performance inside of here. A special inclusion on the iPhone 16e is Apple's new C1 chip, which is a dedicated cellular modem that Apple has developed in-house and lends to some of the battery optimization on this phone. Unfortunately, this iteration of the C1 chip does not include support for ultra-wideband 5G connections or precise AirTag tracking, but I really don't think that the target demographic for this phone is worried about that. Like I said, we have a 4005 mAh battery inside of here, and I can get through the day with no problems. 25% left at the end of the day with using this phone actively all day, taking pictures, browsing the web, watching YouTube, things like that. It just performs and it gets you through the day. Now, while the battery life is rock solid in my opinion, what you are missing out on here, a couple of things in the battery life department, such as MagSafe and faster wireless charging. So we don't have MagSafe on this phone. Sure, you can probably add it with a third-party case, but you are limited to 7.5 watt wireless charging, which might not be a big deal to some people, but that's something to keep in mind. The fact here is that the iPhone 16e is the best new iPhone that you can get from Apple for the cheapest amount of money. Now, personally, this isn't an iPhone for me. It just lacks too many things that I hold dear, such as the ultra-wide or macro photography, but I think that it's for a lot of people out there. My mom's currently rocking an iPhone SE, and she would 100% love the crap out of this phone. And sure, if you compare it to other phones on the market right now at the same price point, this one definitely lacks in features, but I don't think that people that want an iPhone 16e are even considering any of those other Android options on the market. They just want a refreshed iPhone that will do what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it and not cost an arm and a leg. And on that promise, the iPhone 16e delivers. Look, you may be able to find better personal value picking up something on the secondary market used or even going with another brand. But at the end of the day, in 2025, This is the best, new, cheapest iPhone that you can get from Apple, and there's something to be said about that.